Michael Snyder, our resident film critic, joins us. We're going to go over his Oscar ballot. I'm going to ask you to tell us who you think should win and who will win. But first, tell us about Hot Tub Time Machine.
Well, you're such a daring fellow to even bring it up because I like the first Hot Tub Time Machine, a wacky off-the-wall comedy with John Cusack and Craig Robinson, Rob Corddry, and Clark Duke. And these guys are losers that end up on a ski vacation and in a time machine shaped like a hot tub, or a hot tub that's actually a time machine, and they can go back into time and fix the mistakes they made as young men. And it was very funny and self-referential, and it had kind of a coherence to it that Hot Tub Time Machine 2 does not have. It's like they threw all of their little tenets and all of their rules for making this thing sensible in the context of its craziness out the window, and also don't have John Cusack leavening things for the sequel. As a result, it's strident. They, go everywhere they possibly can for jokes, using the obvious sex, drugs, and rock and roll topics to mine for easy, cheap laughs that don't really come. They bring in Adam Scott to replace your friend and mine, Mr. Cusack, and he doesn't really have that kind of gravitas and sly wit. It just, very flaccid and very unfunny.
The Duff.
The Duff is actually a surprisingly good teen comedy about a young girl in the 21st century, and it's not the usual baloney about jocks versus nerds. Instead, this girl, played by young actress Mae Whitman, who started out doing the voice of Lilo and Lilo and Stitch for Disney and moved on to various TV shows, and is quite charming as kind of an ugly duckling who is, in fact, best of friends with a couple of hotties. And there's no discrimination, really, but she is their Duff, their designated ugly fat friend. And you don't have to be really ugly or fat to be a Duff. They come in all shapes and sizes. And Ken Jeong plays her favorite teacher, and he's very funny in this. And it's pretty sweet. It's kind of clever. It's not insulting to the intellect, and the Duff works better than any teen comedy I've seen in a very long time. It's not in the realm of Mean Girls or Heathers, but it's certainly not as embarrassing as some of the crap that Hollywood foists off on people. And I got to say, Mae Whitman has a kind of easy, flippant style that just worked like a charm in this film.
Okay.
So there you have it. Yeah.
McFarland, USA.
Oh, it's a Disney movie about an underdog sports tale that's actually from real life. The 1987 McFarland High School cross-country team in the Bakersfield, the Agra Belt in California, heavily Hispanic. They are encouraged by their white coach, who is fallen out of favor on the educational front and ends up having to take a job in this sort of outpost, and he whips them into shape. And he's played by, of course, no less than Kevin Costner, and not bad for what it is, and kind of inspiring. And the true story element is cool, and everybody kind of gives their all, but it's kind of by the book too. It really happened though, and maybe you can cut him a break. You can give him a mulligan. It's certainly the inspirational tip.
Is it as good as Cool Runnings with John Candy?
No.
Remember Cool Runnings?
I do, about the Jamaican bobsled team, man.
Yes.
No, this is a little more, earnest and Disney-fied.
All right. Kingsman, The Secret Service.
Well, this is one of my favorite films in a while, and it's right in my wheelhouse. Fun, fun, fun. It's homage to the over-the-top elements of 60s spy movies, the Bond films, the Flint films, the Matt Helm films, plus a little of director Matthew Vaughn's interest in the British class system, which also showed up in his first directorial effort, Layer Cake, which I think is one of the best kind of crime and cops and underworld and drug dealing films of the past 20 years, and introduced Daniel Craig as a lead actor. Wonderful film. And this guy, Matthew Vaughn, went on to score with Kick-Ass, Stardust, and X-Men First Class. In this case, he really was, going into an element, into a world, into a genre I just love. And as Austin Powers would say, yeah, baby, an aimless but resourceful London street kid is recruited by a super secret organization dedicated to protecting the world from evil. So how about this? You bring in an elegant and stylish British actor, Colin Firth, doing his best gentleman spy routine in the manner of John Steed from TV's The Avengers. You grab an actual icon of the 60s spy craze in Michael Caine. You throw in the hip-hop nerd villain, a lisping mix of Dr. Dre and Mark Zuckerberg, and as smirkingly megalomaniacal as both, for contemporary vibe. And he's played by Samuel L. Jackson. And there are high-tech fight scenes with an assassin with a creepy set of skills and weapons, as if straight from one of those more outlandish mid-period Bond films. Kaboom! I really loved Kingsman: The Secret Service. Highly recommended. Violent, wild, crazy, and so much fun. Based on the graphic novel, The Secret Service. Loved it.
Yes, Colin Firth was on Jimmy Fallon on Monday, and I saw one of the fight scenes. They showed a clip. It looked great.
Astonishing.
And Jack McBrayer was on with Triumph the Insult Comic Dog.
I wish I had seen that. They got a show coming up. I'm very excited about it.
Yes, it's Friday nights on Adult Swim. 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay, so the S&M themed bestseller by E.L. James gets turned into a feature film with some eye-rolling casting and dialogue and acting that are spotty at best and laughable a lot of the time. And the chemistry between the leads is wildly uneven. A wealthy, high-tech billionaire starts stalking this recent college grad. I don't know how he found the time with all of his high-tech billionaire business, but he also happens to be into S&M, a dominant who wants to make her his submissive. And as I watched this weak sauce, I thought it might be preferable if this was an animated film with that villain from the Minions movies, 50 Shades of Gru. That would have been better.
Okay.
Or maybe about Leno's ever-changing hair color, 50 Shades of Jay. How about that?
Are we talking Showgirls bad, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls bad, the Oscar bad, or just bad?
I think so. I didn't find it that sexy. I mean, I may be heterosexual. I may be. No, I am. But I would have preferred 50 Shades of Gay to this. I think it would have been hotter. I don't know. There were whipping scenes. Maybe they thought, we'll get the 12 Years a Slave audience. Oh, sorry. I apologize.
But, I mean, is it funny bad or just horrible?
I sat there with my friend, and we laughed a lot of the time. And when it was over, she said, there's your new Rocky Horror Picture Show. But people are taking it seriously, and oh, my God, millions and millions and millions in box office, triple figure millions. I'm not joking.
All right,
wow.
We're going to get to the Oscar ballot. Finally, Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, lordy, lordy. Now, if you know me, you know I like sci-fi. I mean, that movie, Kingsman: The Secret Service, is spy-fi, and I totally dug that. But I must tell you, Jupiter Ascending is so much money tossed at the screen for so little work. Either it's the first truly ridiculous sci-fi blockbuster of the year, or the first misfiring big-budget comedy of the year. This movie ought to be the Rocky Horror of the future. In either case, it's the latest multi-million wank fest from the Wachowskis of the Matrix fame, whose two half-assed Matrix sequels set a standard for WTF-ery that has held through Speed Racer and Cloud Atlas. But it's a whole nother thing. It's like director Terry Gilliam of Monty Python, Brazil, and Time Bandits had a nightmare after watching that over-the-top Flash Gordon film from 1980 and eating too much pizza, crossed with Katy Perry's Super Bowl halftime show. I'm not joking. Mila Kunis is Katy Perry in this thing. And,
all right.
Oh, my God. It's just, she goes into outer space. It turns out she's some kind of outer space queen of I can't even. I will say this. Speaking of Oscars, Eddie Redmayne, up for his performance in The Theory of Everything, is Nicolas Cage as the Emperor of Outer Space in this thing. I've never seen so much outer space scenery chewed apart. Eddie Redmayne, a terrific actor, went full camp when he did this thing.
Okay, let's get to the Oscars. The Oscars, the 87th Annual Academy Awards will be on ABC February 22nd. I believe it's this Sunday. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Doogie Howser is the host. Let's
go America's Toastmaster, you mean?
Best Picture, American Sniper, Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, Whiplash, and the Oscar for Best Picture goes to...
In Mikey Land, Boyhood, but Birdman might beat them out.
Okay, interesting. I disagree. I'm going to say Selma is going to win because they really screwed that movie.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
You
great
know,
movie, so it's got to win because it didn't get any other nominations. However, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes Anderson, probably his best movie to date. I'm not a big fan of that type of movie, but blew me away. So I would not be surprised if The Grand Budapest Hotel wins.
I did not find it his best movie. I found the previous film, Moonrise Kingdom, a better movie in my mind. And
Okay.
I did leave the Grand Budapest Hotel humming the art direction. And, it's quite an astonishment visually.
All right, let's
But
go. Let's
yeah,
okay. Best director nominees are Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu for Birdman, Richard Linklater for Boyhood, Bennett Miller for Foxcatcher, Wes Anderson for Grand Budapest Hotel, Morton Tildum for The Imitation Game, and the Oscar goes to,
Linklater or Inarritu?
I'm sorry, Linklater or
Inarritu.
for
Alejandro Gonzalez.
Birdman.
Yeah, Birdman. Either the
Okay.
guy who directed Birdman, Alexander Gonzalez Inarritu, or Richard Linklater for Boyhood. Both are really amazing achievements.
Yeah.
And I would say, and by the way, the old Snyder caveat, I think all the stuff is crap, these competitions in
I
the
know.
arts. I hate it all.
But you know what? It draws attention to important movies. And I think the nominees are all good this year. I think that
Well,
it's a good year for movies. Okay.
agreed. I'm sorry. There's almost like a most violent year that weren't nominated, but yes, you're correct.
Okay. Best lead actor Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, Bradley Cooper, American Sniper, Benedict Cumberbatch in The Imitation Game, Michael Keaton in Birdman, Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything. The Oscar goes to.
Well, Redmayne or Keaton, and Keaton is the sentimental choice. Hollywood loves its survivors. I call this the Sandra Bullock syndrome. Reward the guy for a body of work. And hey, this was a much better performance by Keaton than Bullock performed in the film where she won for Best Actress, which was to me like a Lifetime movie.
Okay. Steve Carell may surprise everybody.
No, but that's nice that he got nominated.
Best Supporting Actor nominees are Robert Duvall for The Judge, Ethan Hawke for Boyhood, Edward Norton for Birdman, Mark Ruffalo for Foxcatcher, J.K. Simmons for Whiplash. And the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor goes to?
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
He owned that film, although I have to say the kid, Miles Teller, was terrific and more than a match for him. But the power and flamboyance of Simmons' performance as the near psychotic music teacher, and oh my God, it's
right.
still with me today.
The nominees for Best Lead Actress are Marion Cotillard in
Cotillard.
in 2 Days, 1 Night, Felicity Jones in The Theory of Everything, Julianne Moore in Still Alice, Rosamund Pike in Gone Girl, and Reese Witherspoon in Wild.
Oh, everybody was good, but Julianne Moore plays a middle-aged woman grappling with early onset Alzheimer's. She gives one of her typically great performances, and it's a great role for her. Here's your lead actress.
All right. Best Supporting Actress. The nominees are Patricia Arquette in Boyhood. Yeah, she was great. Laura Dern in Wild, Keira Knightley in The Imitation Game, Emma Stone in Birdman, Meryl Streep in Into the Woods, and the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress goes to
Patricia Arquette.
Yeah, but Meryl Streep.
Yeah, Meryl Streep in a kind of clowny performance. Look, people like that Into the Woods movie and like the musical, but I have to say that Patricia Arquette gave one of those fearless performances, not afraid to age on screen for 12 years, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
And the heart and soul of what it means to be a parent on some front with that thing.
Yes. Best Animated Feature. The nominees are Big Hero 6, The Box Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Song of the Sea, and The Tale of Princess Kaguya. And the winner.
The least of them is probably going to win. How to Train Your Dragon 2. I thought if it goes to anyone, I think Big Hero 6 is the most accomplished, and the Tale of Princess Kaguya is the most beautiful. Although the Song of the Sea is pretty wonderful, but I don't think enough people saw those latter two among the Academy voters. I think Big Hero 6 should get it. How to Train Your Dragon 2 probably will.
Nominees for Best Documentary Feature are Citizen4, Finding Vivian Maier, Last Days in Vietnam, The Salt of the Earth, Virunga.
Citizen4 deserves it. It's actual serious journalism that deals with something that needs to be out there in the zeitgeist, and it's an amazing piece of citizen journalism, as Laura Poitras is right in the middle of one of the more thrilling and upsetting stories of the past 10 years, the tale of a whistleblower who is still having repercussions on the international I guess the international economy. Every
Citizen4 is a great movie, but I think the Oscar is going to go to Finding Vivian Maier, which was executive produced by my friend Jeff Garlin. I really think Finding Vivian Maier is going to win the Oscar because that's a once-in-a-lifetime movie.
Well, the first person who saw Finding Vivian Maier in your extended group of pals,
of course, you.
And I championed it, and I actually like it as well as Citizen4. But I just have a
Citizen4 is a great movie, but something like Vivian Maier is a once in 100 years. It's found footage. It's found photographs. It's a story that you could not invent. So.
I thought a lefty like you would have championed Edward Snowden's.
Oh no, I love Citizen4. I found Last Days in Vietnam unwatchable. Rory Kennedy's hagiography to Vietnam, and as though we accomplished anything there. I mean, she portrays America as heroic in Vietnam, and we were anything but, right?
Yeah, well, The Salt of the Earth is fascinating.
What's The Salt of the Earth about? I haven't seen that.
It's a pretty to get into any great depth here would be pointless. But
okay,
it's Wim Wenders is one of the producers of it, and one of the filmmakers behind it, and it's amazing stuff. And it's about basically poverty and disenfranchisement worldwide.
Okay. And Virunga is on Netflix. I'm afraid to watch it. It seems so sad.
Brutally so. And, I have to say, Finding Vivian Maier is my favorite of these films, but I had the feeling that the Academy might jump on Citizen4 because they're going to throw in with the idea of transparency in government.
Okay. Foreign language film, Ida, which is on Netflix, Leviathan from Russia. Ida, by the way, is from Poland. Tangerines from Estonia. Timbuktu from Mauritania, or Mauritania from Timbuktu, and Wild Tales from Argentina.
Wild Tales is very entertaining, kind of an anthology of little stories, and lives up to its title, kind of crazy, funny, and again, very entertaining. Ida, very dark, very deeply felt movie that deals with the Holocaust, so that always has a big leg up when it comes to winning awards, and Leviathan was, as far as I'm concerned, maybe the best of the bunch here. A really brutal expose of corruption in the Russian government, particularly local government in the Russia of 2014. But who knows? This is always a crapshoot because who knows what Academy members have watched what movies. But right. Ida seems to have the inside track.
And finally, Best Original Screenplay. The nominees are Birdman, Boyhood, Foxcatcher, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Nightcrawler. The Oscar goes to?
Birdman, because it's wildly creative.
Okay.
And so meta. Michael Keaton's character is a kind of funhouse mirror reflection of his own character. And
all right, very, very quickly, we have time for one more. Best Adapted Screenplay. American Sniper, The Imitation Game, Inherent Vice, The Theory of Everything, Whiplash.
American Sniper will probably get it, but it's also, it's probably a fair thing to say that any one of those films could probably win this thing. I mean, to me, again, it's a popularity contest, David.
Okay. Michael Snyder, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Oh, you bet.
The David Feldman radio program is made possible by listeners like you. You sad, pathetic humps.